and I am also a drummer for many more years, but mostly as a non-professional drummer. Currently, I'm working in a bank as a tester in Copenhagen, and that bridge there is the one I go over each day, forth and back, from Malmö to Denmark, Copenhagen. And when I play drums, I do it in Beach Boys tribute band, which is lovely music. When I work with test and I am faced with a challenge or any problem, very often I find myself see some similarities as when I play music. Same kind of problems and same kind of challenges. And trying to see if we do it in another way, solve the problem in another way in the music context. And it's maybe not so strange that I see these similarities, because it's about people trying to create something together or solving a problem in both cases. Groove has more than one meaning, but in a musical situation, and especially when we talk about music based on rhythm, it's about quality, a very important part of the quality. And therefore we try really hard to actually be sure that we have that groove when we go on stage. But nevertheless, each evening it sounds different, even if we try to prepare ourselves. And that's because it's so many different things that has an impact on the result. So I would say that finding the groove is definitely a context-driven activity. So how do we make it happen then? And can we apply it to testing also, the findings? That's what I want to talk about. So this is my presentation, what I want to talk about, the topics. First, I try to do some kind of definition of groove and explain what it is. Maybe some of you here has already an idea about it. Some maybe are musicians already. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I have to pick it up. So, it's better? Okay. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to explain my view about how to find the groove, how I do it and how I want to do it when I play the drums. And finally a conclusion and an extra thing. And I will also say that my ideas is only my ideas. There are probably more ways to do it. But, yeah. So Wikipedia's definition, it goes like this. Groove is the sense of propulsive rhythmic feel or sense of swing created by the interaction of the music played by a band's rhythm section, drums, electric bass, or double bass, guitar, and keyboards. So it says that it's about feelings, senses. It's about interaction between several parameters. We have at least 5 instruments here. And all of these can take on a lot of different values depending on how you play them. So it looks actually quite complicated. How would that apply to testing? Is it possible to have a groove definition for testing? I made an experiment and transformed this one to this. Groove is the sense of propulsive exploration and learning, or sense of communication created by the interaction of people and software, testers, developers, customers, software and the test and tools. You can think about it and we can maybe discuss it afterwards if you if you disagree or have some ideas about it. That may be something to continue with now when I take the next slide. But it's about feelings and it's about interactions, but groove has also some kind of elements in it that you have to look at, what we work with. First of all, we have something called time in music. And time is, for many musicians, considered as the most important thing when you want to have a groove in music and a good music. A musician can have a good sense of time or timing, and it's about the tempo in the song. It's about how you apply to the tempo. It's very difficult to explain to someone that doesn't have that sense. You cannot really notate it. It's something that you learn from many years of experience playing. It can take 20 years, maybe 30 years before you feel that you own the time. So it's a bit abstract. And I was thinking about what that could be in a testing context. And I thought about risk awareness. A tester that has a good risk awareness, it's hard to explain for an unexperienced tester how to apply that in a test session. I guess there's something that you just have from a long time's experience. You know if you see something, if the problem is actually something to look further into or not, or spend time. That might be something similar to the music thing. Then we have the rhythm, and rhythm is how you group the music in repetitive patterns based on the time. And in testing, that would be, for me at least, a test strategy or test techniques, which gives you the direction when you play or test. And finally, we have dynamics. Dynamics in music is what gives life to the song, makes it more colorful. And we work with things like we accent different parts of the music, and we use louder music, softer music. We experiment with energy. And in test, that would be for me the actual testing, the exploration. How you elaborate on different ideas, how you make variations on them, and so on, to make it much more richer. So that is the body of the groove, as I see it. But there are also other things that have an impact on the result. There are conditions around the groove. For instance, skills are very important, of course. You must know how to play the instrument. And it's not enough to know just the theory. You have to play a lot to do it well. For instance, I could probably learn all of you to play a basic rock beat on the drums. But that doesn't mean that you can go up on stage and drive a rock band for 2 hours. That wouldn't work. And even if I gave you a diploma after, let's say, 3 days, saying that you were a certified drummer, I don't think you would get a job. They would think it was a joke or you were crazy or something and ask you to play and show that you can play. You need experience, because experience is how you handle situations on stage. You need good songs, of course. A lousy song is much more difficult to sound good, to get some value out of it. And for testing, if you have a really difficult product to test, it's much more difficult to see what's in it and present some value or information from it. And finally, motivation. And that is, for me, extremely important when I play. I must be motivated. And I guess it's the same with testing. And there are some general motivation factors. You want to do a good performance. You want the audience to be happy because they paid a lot of money to see you. But besides those general motivation factors, I think there is also a lot of more personal motivation factors, egoistic ones. Let's say you learned something new a week ago. Then you are very eager to bring that into the music You want that somehow to fit in the song, and that has an impact on the groove. You want to be creative, and you want to learn new stuff while you're playing. So you try to find some area where you can do that. And you want to show off also as a tester. You want to be in focus. That's important for your motivation. And I guess also a tester wants to do that now and then. And if they cannot do it, it's not so fun anymore. You want to have self-confidence, because that's what's helping you playing well. And you want to develop a personal style also as a musician, because that's the next step after you are really a good player. That what's make you different from all the others. And it's probably not different for a tester. I don't think it should be, because you do something, you perform something when you test. But the thing is that if someone else is telling you what to play or give you scripts how to play, they will never take all this into account. Okay. So you have to come up with the ideas yourself. So now I have to really hurry up. So my view of how to find the groove goes like this. Let's say we have a song list, we have a scope. We meet in the rehearsal room and we do brainstorming to come up with the ideas about rhythms and all that stuff together. We create a combination of rhythm, which is the overall rhythm, and we don't want to be interacting with each other. We have to have a good coverage. We may need to learn new stuff and bring in other sounds, of course. When we have that, we have a scope, we have the strategies, the rhythms and all that. But there are a lot of things that we cannot predict. We don't know if the other guys are in a good mood that day and so on. We don't know the audience, if they are, if they're going to respond to what we're doing. And we don't know how the songs will develop on stage, so we have to be aware of that. And also the sound can be tricky. And during the performance, what I have to do as a drummer is I have to maintain and enhance the groove all the time, so I don't drop in the intensity. So I constantly have to check for that. I have to have a good contact with all the people on stage, and also with both visual and audible. I have to be very observant from the feedback from the audience, and also how the song goes. And I'll try to remember what worked well and not worked so well, and then I try to elaborate on the good things. I'm a bit too slow here. Yeah. And this is something I do all the time during a concert, from the first stroke to the last one, all the time. And it's about exploring, evaluating, and learning. So the conclusion is, I believe, as a musician, that I have to be able to do all these things, I have to be in charge of my instrument and the ideas. I may take feedback, of course, but I am the one who makes the decisions on stage. And some of them are better taken in the rehearsal room and some on stage. And that depends on the musicians, how experienced they are and so on, and on the context. And it requires respect for the individuals and their dynamics and their personalities. So last slide then. So counting test cases as a measure of the value of a test effort is as meaningless as counting the number of drum strokes as a measure of the musical value of a drum solo. So 500 strokes is not better than 450 necessarily. Yeah. Thank you. I had too many slides there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Robert just demonstrated how you shift from traditional blues to thrash in 2 pulses.
Yeah, that was.
All right.
I
No,
had to do that. I
recovery.
was surprised it was so short time. Yeah, I should
It
have
seemed quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Get
Any
out the
questions?
cards.
Yeah.
I think next time you should do that from your drum set and have them.
Yeah. If I could brought my drums, I would have shown some. Yeah, that would have been nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Well done.
Thanks.
Yes. 35.
Thanks so much. I was thinking that if you're not finding the groove, if you have problems with
Mhm.
one person, you have four people
Mhm.
going at it and find the groove,
Mhm.
and one person who has bad day.
Mm.
How during your session when you're jamming and playing,
Mm.
how can you adapt to that? So does it affect your overall performance to the stage? Or your
Yeah.
public?
One example is if I play with the bass player, and he is not concentrated. I can feel that he is slowing down the music. He is not really. So, if I have a good sense of time, if I'm an experienced drummer, I can keep the correct tempo but push it a little. I put my strokes a little bit ahead. So the overall feeling is that we actually have a good groove. And on the other hand, if he is nervous, he is rushing the music, I have to pull back a little. It's very difficult, but that's how I do it. Yeah.
So basically, within a group, you
Mm.
are allowed to have a bad day. Your other people can basically cover for you.
Definitely,
and still
yeah.
do amazing performance.
Yeah, we're humans. Yeah. So, yeah. Mm.
35 and a new thread.
That's me.
That's you. Never mind. 146 and a new thread.
I saw you saying that when you're on stage,
Mm.
you kind of control a lot of the points that I could relate to the team really. It's not you who who is in control, who's making decisions. I feel that it's a teamwork. It's an orchestrated thing.
It is, but once you're on stage, you don't talk to each other. You can do that before, but once on stage, you just have to take in the information you have and make decisions how to go further and further on. So,
What I'm saying
Mm.
that your goal is to make a concert.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A performance.
Mm.
So performance is not by one person. If you're perfect, everybody else around you is not. It's not going to be a performance.
no,
No
that's
matter
true.
how you-
That's true. That's true. Some evenings are better, some are worse. So,
It's a little bit of challenge that I'm noticing lately. Before I was kind of concentrating on myself,
Mm.
and lately I'm feeling that overall performance is what the people in the audience
Mm.
perceive.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay,
And
let's-
definitely
so-
on that same thread, part of that comes back to the practice, though, that you recognize where those weaknesses are, and that's
Mhm.
where you focus that time, because the more you do that, and that experience is what makes it possible during performance to make those necessary adjustments.
Mm.
As you get better at what you do, you can adapt to the bad days around you.
Mm.
If you don't have that experience, you don't even have the ability to adapt. You don't have the skills in your toolbox to pick things up. Professional musicians or practice musicians and testers have to see when the ball drops next to them, and some have the ability to pick up from that and go, and some don't.
Mm.
And the ways that you get better at that is actually practicing it.
Yep, that's true.
Through that.
Mm.
So.
Mm.
35, you had another
Yeah,
new thread.
I was thinking, the groove, is that only the music, or is the stage show having explosives and stuff, is that also included in the groove? What I'm thinking on the analogy to testing then is to actually do a good job,
Mm.
but actually is part of that also to visualize it in a cool pie chart or whatever, instead of just plain text? I mean,
It can be, of course.
visualize.
Yeah, I think so, because according to Wikipedia, it's the feeling you get from the music, and if you can make it stronger by the effects on stage, of course it has an impact on your feeling. So I think so, yeah. Mm.
And I think it has to do with your audience.
Yeah.
Some people prefer a nice, really good acoustic set
Mhm.
with more pure music. whereas others don't want anything less than a full-blown stage show like pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
So part of that is meeting that expectation
Mm.
and knowing what to provide.
Mm.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like, is that included in the groove, or is that more of a pseudo show off that actually doesn't affect the actual groove in the music?
I don't know. Maybe it has.
You have a bad music
yeah.
with amazing front, right?
Mm. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure about that.
I'm going to jump in here and wave my card so that I'm legal. But I wanted to hear this talk because I thought it was really curious. I was a performing drummer
Yeah, I know that.
for 30 years.
Ooh.
And what I find interesting is the question that you're asking, because I think groove is more than a specific song or a specific tune. It can encompass the entire thing. You can have a couple of really good songs and a couple of not quite so good songs, but still pretty good.
Mm.
And so the overall feeling is going to be good. The overall groove will be good. The feel for the night will be good.
It can be, yeah.
Or you can have one that's just an absolute train wreck.
And you can
Yeah.
have those things that add to that or take away from it.
Right,
Mm.
right. 59.
What I find really interesting, I do have a background in performance and whatnot, more from the technical side, being the guy firing the automation with the lathes, the pyrotechnics, and all this sort of stuff.
Mm.
And that, along with testing, we were talking a lot about the groove and how what's overlooked often is how everybody can affect the groove and how one person has that off day, and if you don't have a team that's used to working together, the entire thing can wind up just come crashing down because one person's one beat off on this one thing.
Mm.
I watched my development team come crashing to a halt recently because somebody forgot to check in one piece of code, caused unbelievable mayhem, and there were 7 of us that were standing around having absolutely nothing to do because one person missed one thing, and we just weren't used to working together to watch out for that.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, it can be a disaster just because one person, of course. And yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Remarkable as it may seem, time is up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you very much.
That was very good.